And at the Texas Homeschool Coalition, although our name does imply our focus on homeschooling, and that is where we started out, a lot has changed just over the past several years in terms of our understanding of how homeschooling is best protected. And what's really come down to is the fact that in order to homeschool, parents have to have the right to control the care and upbringing of their children in the way that they see best fit. And so really, parental rights is something that we've become a lot more focused on. So naturally then, a lot of the bills that we focus on are about more than just education, and often are about really issues that don't necessarily give parents enough heads up, or don't give parents the opportunity to consent, or really don't allow parents to be in the picture at all in many cases. So there's a lot of bills that we're working on, that we work to amend or that we work to oppose, that don't have adequate parental notification requirements in a lot of different areas. Now there's also three main bills that we're working on trying to get past this session. The first of those is what we call the ECO bill, the Equal College Opportunities Bill. Now in the Senate, this actually passed out of the Senate recently, SB 1543 by Perry. Now what this does is right now there's several state colleges in Texas who discriminate against homeschool applicants. So when those homeschool applicants go to those colleges, they're required to make a higher test score than their public or private school counterparts. So we're passing this bill to require basically an equal platform for homeschool applicants for those specific colleges. And that passed resoundingly out of the Senate, and it's on its way over to the House, where James Frank has said that he's going to be carrying it over there. Other bills that we're working on include the Tim Tebow bill, which is HB 347 in the House and SB 2046 in the Senate. Now in the Senate, we recently had a hearing on this bill, which would allow for homeschool students to be able to try out for the UIL extracurriculars in the district that they live in and pay taxes for. And so that bill would expand, again, parental choice in our view, because it gives parents more opportunities about how to educate their children. Now, some people are in favor of that. Some homeschoolers, don't necessarily want to participate in that system. But the idea is, it's your choice. And that's the whole point. You have the option whether you want to participate or not. And so it creates more opportunities for education for parents. And then finally, the parental rights bill that we're working on is recently we have had hearings for that in both the House and the Senate. On the House side, that is 524, and then on the Senate side, 414. We've had hearings for both of those. We're pretty confident that we have the votes to get that out of committee in the House, and we're working on making some changes that will help fix some of the concerns some of the people have on the Senate side of things. But we are definitely making progress on all of our bills, so that's definitely something that we're very excited about. Now, to give you all kind of a brief picture of some of the issues that we work against or work on to amend, I'll talk about two bills in particular. One, HB 2429 by Vo. And now what this bill does was, it had very good intentions. Basically, it's designed to allow for situations where a parent is out of the picture entirely and the child is being cared for by a relative or someone of that nature. This bill would allow them to be able to take that child in and give them medical treatment. Now the problem though is that medical treatment really is a very broad category. There's a lot that's included there, including different types of surgery. And the problem that we had particularly was that it really did not go far enough in making sure that that contact was attempted for the parent, because the issue that we felt was, even if there was a situation where the parent is, supposedly out of the picture, there's also a possibility that it might just be that they can't be contacted for some reason. So we need to make sure there are adequate provisions in there that require the parent that contact be attempted for that parent. And we did make some smaller changes to the bill. They were willing to make some minor changes, but they weren't willing to make that larger change, so we testified against that bill. So that bill, I believe, is I'm not sure when the vote is for it in committee, but we're still working on opposing that bill just because of the fact that it doesn't include adequate parental notification requirements. Similar issue for another bill that we have been more favorably working with the representative on, Donna Dukes, working on a bill, HB 807, which would allow for, again, a non-parent to enroll a child in public school. Now, again, the motive behind this is in a situation where the parent's, again, entirely off the scene, they would want to allow the person who's now taking care of that child to be able to put them into public school. Now that in and of itself isn't a problem. The problem comes when you have situations where, again, the parent might not necessarily be completely out of the picture, but maybe someone, maybe they go and stay with a relative for a month or something along those lines. Now this bill, because it didn't have adequate notification for the parent, it just said the relative has to make a diligent effort to contact the parent, and that's not really defined. So we sent them some language saying, here are some very specific guidelines about how parents ought to be contacted. And they're actually working on getting a committee substitute with that added language in. So we'll be looking that over probably, hopefully, within sometime this next week to see whether that has all the changes that we want. But they've been very reasonable about working with us and adding in those changes. So those are really, I think, two different types of bills, but that's generally one of the main issues we look for. Is parental consent and parental notification, are those requirements really present in any bill that affects in any way the parental right of a person, of a mom and a dad, to be able to control the care and upbringing of their own children? And there's a lot of legislation that is oftentimes very inadvertent in what it does, but it still has the potential to undermine parental rights just because those safeguards aren't included. So at the Texas Homeschool Coalition, we find it extremely important to make sure that parental consent is upheld, that parental notification is upheld, and that we really have the parents not left out of any picture of any different issue, of any type of issue, whether that's education or whether that's the physical and medical well-being of that child. So, do you have any questions about?
What was the age of college?
1540, SB 1543. Yes, by Perry. Thank you.
I think